Welcome back to another video from Board Game Closet. Today we're going to be talking about Mansions of Madness put out by Fantasy Flight. My name's Jimmy.
My name's Rod.
I'm Tim.
Let's get into this.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about here is the instructions and the story. This is pretty cool. There are actually two instruction booklets in this game. One is for the keeper, the bad guy. Well, I guess he's just misunderstood guy. The one player plays him, and he gets his own book. It's got his own. It's got the quick sheet on the back. The keeper is the one that needs to know the game. The other players, you can break it down pretty simple for them. Give them the quick sheet so they can play. So the instructions are easy for the players, but the keeper really needs to read the instructions and know how to play first, which is kind of easy to look up. Everything has like the bold headers and stuff like that, like anything else. The players get their own investigator's guide and rules of play. It's a flip book. For the investigators, it tells you how to set up the map and what tokens to place on the map. So that way it's going to be laid out for them, so they know what's going to be there. At the same time they're doing that, the keeper takes his 30 minutes of setup to set up his cards, the secret stuff that's going to be laid out in each room, the locks and the puzzles, stuff like that, and to figure out the story, which if he does it right, he can keep a lot of the story hidden even from himself. So that way, when you're playing it and the players investigate and figure stuff out, it's a surprise to him as well. So he's kind of figuring it out with the players a little bit. And then, of course, on this other side is just the simple basic rules where they show that they have great pictures. They're labeled. They tell you what each little item does that's out on the board. So it's cool. It's very very well laid out. It is very deep and very complex. So as far as board games go, this one has pretty thick instructions.
I think my first impression of the game was I'm glad that we had you because Tim came in, and the very first time that we ever played it, he just set everything up, and it took a long time. Like, I remember him setting the game up, and we went and were talking or something, and then I look back, and Tim is still setting up the game and putting things out, which was two-sided. One, it was like, holy cow, this is a lot of stuff to this game. And so I was glad that we had somebody that could understand the rules, but then it was also exciting to me because I thought, man, what all can we do in this game? Like, we can go over here and go over there, and then as he's putting out these little things in the room, and there's like stuff with locks on it, like, to me, I thought I just got excited just from the beginning, just thinking, what all are we going to get into in this game? So I thought that was pretty cool, even though it looked a little intimidating at first.
Yeah, there's definitely a payoff for the time and depth and the complexity. So if you don't like Cthulhu and horror, you're not really going to like the theme of this game. So you may not really like the game as a whole because that is the entire game.
Okay, so let's go over basic mechanics of the game and how this works and how you'll move throughout the board and things like that. So to start the game, you're all going to come in on the same location. The game instructions will tell you where that's at, and then you'll come in on the board. And then the way that it works is each person has a card, like many games, that tells you your special attributes for that player. So each person might have a different health or a different sanity, and they also have something called skill points. And then you'll also have special cards that, like this one is a Tommy gun, and then you might have some other things that you take along with you. Like on this one right here, it tells me my strength, my marksmanship, my dexterity, and then this card tells me my intellect, my willpower, lore, and luck. And at the beginning of the game, you actually get to choose these cards. And so they give you some that you're able to pick through. And so you decide, do I want to begin with the Tommy gun or do I want to begin with another item? So in Mansions of Madness, the basic gameplay is this. You get two moves and one action. You can spend those in any order you like and do pretty much anything that you want to do. So if you're in a particular room and you'd like to move through that room, you can do that and spend your move actions. You can go into another room if you still have moves left, and then you can use your actions. Actions include exploring a room, or attacking an enemy. And so when you're spending those, let's say that I'm here and I'd like to move into this room, and then there's a card in the room, and I'd like to explore that card. I'd just tell the keeper, hey, I'd like to explore that card, and he'd flip it over. And then he'd tell you what that is. Like in this instance, it's a diary. And then I'd be able to take that and keep that in my arsenal of things that I have. Sometimes you might go into a room, let's say I'm back here, and there might be a room that has a lock on it. And so if you're in this room, you say, hey, I'd like to explore, then the keeper would flip this card over and then read the instructions that are on that card. Sometimes it might be something like you've got to find a secret phrase, or you've got to find the key to the lock first. And so that basically stops you in your tracks, and it says you can't go any further to unlock the treasure or whatever it is in that room until you go and find something else. So that's kind of a neat aspect of the game, where you can find something, but then you're stopped, and then you got to go look somewhere else, and different things like that. There's also, in some of the rooms, there's a card that looks like this, and it might be a puzzle that you have to figure out. And so you'll come into that room, and there might be puzzle pieces that you have to line up, or like this particular one is kind of neat. It's this electrical deal, and so you've got to get all the electrical pieces to line up exactly right and set those in place. And so that's kind of a neat aspect of the game. So that's pretty much the basic idea of the game. Is you got 2 moves and an action, and then monsters are going to appear, and you got to fight them and try to kill them, and you might have to run, and you're exploring, and I mean that's basically how you move about in the game.
The most important part of the mechanics is the exploration, because that's the key of the game. Is finding in here, hidden in some of these rooms, are clues that have to do with the story of the game. And clues actually will help protect the players against things that will happen in the events of the game, because each turn a token is added to these cards, and if it reaches that total, this card gets flipped over. Whatever happens has to happen in the game. It's important too for the gameplay that the keeper is the one that flips over and reads all these cards, because these cards sometimes will have several different items on them that only happen based on the choices the keeper's made. So if you read it and it's got like 2A, 1A, those are the clues and stuff. Those are the choices the keeper made in the game. And that's a really cool aspect of the game, because that keeps it fresh for everybody.
A really neat aspect to the game are these decks that have to do with the monsters. So let's say you're attacking a monster, or a monster's attacking you, then you'll get the keeper to flip over a card, and then on the back of the card it'll tell you what kind of skill check you need to run, and whether or not you pass or fail, and what happens when you pass or fail that. And so I really like that aspect, because it all depends on whether or not you're attacking the monster with a gun or with your bare hands, how that works. And so when we played through the game a few times, it's been really fun to see how when somebody fails at something, what the effect is to them when they fail or when they pass. And sometimes it's what you expect, and sometimes it's not. So I like that aspect of the game.
Another gameplay mechanic that needs to be covered is the keeper and his actions. All the actions, which is really cool, they have it all described out, exactly what's happening, in text. And they have a threat cost. And the keeper every turn gets amount of threat based on how many investigators are playing. So then he'll basically, for some of these, he'll have to save up for if there's not that many investigators. So it could take him several turns to play it. And some of these, like this one, has special things, like it takes a tissue sample from people, and that's important more for the story than it has any effect on like combat or anything like that. So these make it really cool, because the keeper can't just blast everybody in the game with super awesome powers. He has to actually save up threat, and it's all based on how many people are actually in the house fighting him.
And I thought that was a cool mechanic because at the end of each turn, I knew that he was going to get threat. And so it was like, it kind of put you on edge because you knew, oh, now he's got power and now the keeper could do something to us. And so that put us on our toes to know we didn't want to be alone because maybe there's a card that says if someone's alone, he can do something. And, so we wanted to stick together, and I knew, oh, no, now he could do something to us. And so that kind of added this edge to the game that gave him some power over us.
All right, we're going to talk about the components of the game. And again, this is a Fantasy Flight game, so we know what to expect from them is that we normally get, pieces are always great, right? Well, it's true again. The pieces are fantastic. If you take a look at these, the detail is, some of the top miniatures out there, I think. Again, I'm not a Cthulhu fan in any way, but this game pulls me in because of how good the pieces are and everything. When it comes to the rest of the components of the game, when it comes to the boards, again, it's very nice. They're two-sided. They give you a ton of boards in the game so that you are able to do multiple adventures, basically. All in all, this is another just fantastic game when it comes to the game components. That was one of the first things when they opened the box was how many pieces were in it and how heavy it was. I mean, you just a million pieces to it.
All right, so we want to kind of end this video with talking about our overall feel of the game, how we like it, what we didn't like about it, basically some of those ideas. So somebody want to start and tell us your overall feelings about Mansions of Madness?
I mean, I think that this game does a good job of immersion, bringing us into the game. Gives me like I am a detective and I'm out there trying to figure out the clues and stuff. I like that part of it a lot. I like the group together against the one bad guy, and we're all working together to do that. What's that?
He's misunderstood.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and it's usually you. But anyway, but I do like that aspect of it. I like how the game board always changes with the different scenarios. Mm-hmm. And like I said, when I didn't like the Cthulhu before, I do like it now, and it's got some neat feel to it. It is creepy. Mm-hmm. And then the sanity checks are pretty neat characters. So I do think that it really pulls you into the game. You're doing what it said the game, what you're trying to do. And again, it's like Clue on steroids. It's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, I love the game board and just the setup and the character cards and how each time it's something different. And so for me, I look down on the board and I see this huge room with all this stuff. And sometimes you're down underground or you're walking across some planks or something. And there's this outdoor little place you got to go to. Like, to me, the scenarios are probably endless as far as where you could go and what you could do. And so the board really pulls me into this idea that I'm in a house, I'm looking for some things, and there's something going on back there. I love the mystery idea, and I'm hoping as we go further into the game that it'll last a little bit longer and that I'll be able to work with my team to figure some of the clues out and go a little bit deeper in there. I'm not a real big fan of the horror theme, so to speak. I'm more of a mystery, figure it out guy. There's some of those aspects I'm not that crazy about, but I really do like how the whole game plays and how you work together to try to beat the keeper and he's working against you. So, I mean, overall, I really like it.
I think that's a big key thing, too, is that you have to have somebody to play the keeper that wants to be the misunderstood guy. So, I mean, and everybody's going to be teaming up against you, but the game does a good job of making you feel in control, with the secret objectives, your own little power cards, the trauma cards that you can hand out if people get injured and stuff. I'm not saying you have to be maniacal or sadistic or anything, but it helps.
It does. Yeah, because I think if we didn't have a guy like you that loved it, I mean, one of us would say, okay, I'll play the keeper this time, but I know we probably would want to be
detectives.
Yeah, one of the detectives trying to help and do it with the team. So it's always good to have somebody that likes to
killing
be that
guy.
Yeah, killing people, yeah. Okay, at the end of our videos, we like to do just something different. And the way that we're just going to end these each time is we've got three dice in our hand. One's a green one. Green means go buy it today. White means you might want to think about it and do some research. And then red means we pass. We wouldn't buy this game. We don't recommend you buy this game. So each one of us are going to pick a die secretly, and then we're going to put it out there for everybody to see. And then in one sentence, we're going to tell you why we think you should or shouldn't. So here we go. Okay, tell us why.
Well, I guess the one sentence is I would just say go buy the expansions in the main game. This is fantastic.
Just go get it.
Just go get it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I guess mine would be I really like the game, but if you're not into the horror type feel of games, then I don't think you're going to like it or enjoy it. But other than that, that's why I'm saying think about it. You know, if it fits you, then go get it. Otherwise, I think you ought to.
The way everything is based on story and not just I'm rolling the dice to do this. To me, that makes the game worth it. Go buy it now.
All right, so stick around for the pictures of components, and we'll see you next time.